Right now I'm going to show you how to remove a coaster brake hub from an old bicycle wheel. One way to do it is to take off the tire, unscrew all the spoke nipples, and remove all the spokes gracefully, but I don't need the tire or the rim or the spoke nipples or the spokes, so I'm going to do it a little bit more crudely. Now, first thing you have to do is remove the COG, the sprocket, this thing right here, because if you don't do that, then it's going to be hard to get the spokes out of the right side of the hub. And if you forget to remove the COG and then you cut all the spokes, which is what I'm going to do, then you can't remove the COG. So make sure you do this first. Now I'm going to zoom in so you can see it. The COG is held in place with what's called a lock ring right here. This thing is the lock ring. This thing is the COG. So I'm going to take this POC tool. It's a Park Tool HCW5. And I'm going to put it on the lock ring. And I'm going to turn it. Now, are lock rings normally that loose? No. I started this one already just so it'd be easier to show you how to do it. But notice the direction of rotation. Righty-loosey. See, it's reverse threaded. That way when you pedal back on the COG, the whole thing doesn't come apart. So I'm going to take off this lock ring, which should be hand tight by now. And there you go. Now, let's see if I can get the COG off. The guy who gave me this wheel told me that he found it, I don't think he said floating in the Hudson, but it was like drifting in the Hudson. So this wheel was submerged in the Hudson River. I don't know how it's so clean. I don't know, maybe it just wasn't exposed to air. So here's this COG. Doesn't seem to want to come off. So maybe I'll try and pry it off with this. Wow. You know what? Maybe the COG needs to come off with a chain whip, right? So let me see if I have a chain whip in my tool bag. The tool bag, oh, here's the tool bag over here. See, this is kind of new to me too. Where's the chain whip? See? My chain whip's brand new. I've never even used it. I don't even know why I have it. So, apparently, this COG, am I zoomed in right? Can you even see anything I'm doing? Let me zoom out a little teeny weeny bit. Okay. Apparently, see, I've seen coaster brake COGs that just kind of slide onto these three little splines, but this one must be threaded onto the hub. So, I'm going to try and figure out how to put this on here, I guess. And that does not fit very well at all, because this must be like a 3/32 chain whip. Man, that sucks. See, it's just not going to stay on there. Like, what I'd literally need to do is put a half inch chain on here, because that's just not doing a goddamn thing. And I think that kind of, what else can I do here? What other options do I have other than this chain whip? Alright. The chain whip just does not go into this chain at all. That is a bad thing. So I'm going to experiment. I have some more chain over here. I didn't want to get too greasy tonight. Let's see. This piece of chain fits it just fine. But what am I going to do to turn this chain into a chain whip? Honestly, I have no idea. Well, if I had a really big set of slip joint pliers, I could do it. Or a vise. Or really strong hands. But I don't have any of that stuff, so let me see if I can maybe hook this thing in here somehow. If this works, it'll be a miracle. Let's see. Can you still see that? Because this thing's probably rusted on the hub as it is. Can I interest you in a... Alright. This could work. I'm not really holding my breath or anything, but it could work, theoretically. Did that work? Did it budge the thing? Nope, it just kind of knocked it out of the equation. And I guess what I could do is replace the chain on the chain whip. But I don't want to do that, because that seems like a real hassle. Maybe if I had a bike, I could put this in the back of the bike and kind of use the bike to twist it off. How about some leverage maybe? Like we could use this pry bar, but then I'm just using leverage against the spokes, which probably is not going to work. Alright, so square 2. Pry bar really doesn't, really nothing I can do with the pry bar. Is there anything I can do with the pry bar? So I'm gonna try something radical. I'll be back in a second. I'll be right back to the video. Okay, I'm back. Now, I have this bench vise right here. Can you see that? Zoom out a little bit. All right, so here's the plan. Take this bench vise, right? And see if I can even get it open. Crusty, shitty old bench vise. So that's not even going to open right there. But that's okay. I'm not going to give up yet. Let me put the wheel back there so you have something to look at. Luckily, I had another bench vise. So, this is a big one too. Let's get this wheel out of the way. and get this bench vise in place. Wow, that thing's heavy. Plus I just ate. Alright. There's your bench vise. Zoom out a little bit. And what I'm going to do with this vise is try to make something happen here. Of course, the vise is not close enough to the edge of the table. Alright, let's see if that works. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this sprocket. I'm going to zoom in a little bit just so I don't end up having my head in the video. I'm going to take this sprocket, I'm going to wrap it with this chain. That way there, I'll protect the sprocket a little bit. Now, I'm going to close the vise, which is much more easily said than done. Oops. Can you still see? Yeah, I guess we can still see. So, I do have a bench vise in my basement. It's mounted to a bench. But I'm not taking you into my basement right now. Okay. I'm going to sock this up pretty tight, but not tight enough to fuck up the COG. And then, see, here's the problem. I got to try and hold this bench vise in place while I turn the wheel. So I'm going to put my foot on it and then turn the wheel counterclockwise. And look, see? Now what we're using here is called torque, because I'm applying leverage or force about a foot away from the center. So I used leverage to turn force into torque, or something like that. Now, let me get rid of this vise, which will be more easily said than done. Yeah. Oh my god! And I'll flip the wheel back over. And now you can see that I'm out of breath. See, the thing is, I mess around with bikes, but I don't really ride them ever. So that's why I'm so out of shape. Take off this piece of chain. Let me get the video zeroed in a little bit better. Now you can see the COG railway coming right off. See, this is like a track hub almost, in that the COG and the lock ring are threaded onto the hub, whereas some coaster brake hubs are not like that. So now, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to do the fun part, which is cutting the spokes. And I guess it doesn't really matter where you cut them. I'm using this Craftsman. I think these are like lineman's pliers. They're really just the last pair of cutters that I have. And with this, the more leverage you have, the better. If you got like a little set of 5-inch wire cutters, you can get through them, but you'll be here all day. So, cut that off. Cut that off. These pliers were from kind of the good old days of Craftsman. Well, I don't know if the good old days were the 90s, but these are from the 90s. I probably bought these in 99. So they're American made, very good quality. And they're going through these crusty old spokes like the proverbial hot knife through some Land O'Lakes of butter. Urgh. What happened there? Oh, see? You gotta make sure you only have one spoke in the blades and no spokes in the way. Ugh. And this is why I never work on bikes unless I'm making one of these goofy videos. Because this stuff is irritating. It really is. Look how much I had to go through. Now granted, if I had just brought this down to my basement, or if I had had a 1/2-inch chain whip, then I wouldn't have had to lug 2 different vices out here and create a spectacle. But sometimes if you don't have the right tool, you have to improvise. Urgh. Oh, wow. These things get hard to do after a few. Oh, I need one of those little foam rubber balls that like looks like the earth. You can squeeze it, strengthen. So now we're most of the way. None of you motherfuckers are helping. It's just me over here. Okay. Doing it like one-handed now. All hardcore. That's me. Harry Hardcore. That's my real name too. I'll show you my birth certificate sometime. Harry H. Hardcore. Okay. Now, since I already removed most of the spokes, what the? Seriously? 3 that I forgot. Ugh. Wow. Never eat a 7-course gourmet dinner before you do this. So now what I got, is this hub that has some leftover little spokes in it, but see how hard it would be to get these spokes off if that sprocket was in the way? But nope, they come right out. I said they come right out. They come right angle out. And whoa. Wow. I hope I'm centered in the frame of the video. Otherwise you're not going to see anything. Let's see. Let me double check. Can I zoom out a little bit? Try and stay close enough, right? Close enough for rock and roll. I used to have a classmate who would say that. Now, the problem with this hub is, since it was floating in the Hudson, I guess, it's all kind of seized internally. So, pull that out, bend this one a little bit so I get clearance around this brake arm. This video is probably not going to be that good. And again, I don't think any of my videos are all that good. It's not about how good it is. It's just about whether or not you learned anything. And I think I've learned something. Not to be selfish, but if I learn something and you don't, then good for me. Okay, so now all the spokes are out. And it looks like there's this little dust cap type of thing that goes on here. Put your COG back on. lock ring back on. So imagine how hard that would have been to remove that if I hadn't done it first. And, okay. Zoom in one last time. There is your hub. I hope somebody found something helpful about this video, but I sure enjoyed making it. Thanks for watching.